It's Tisha Be'av again. Another year has gone by, and the Beit HaMikdash is still not rebuilt. We have a halacha when it comes to our children, when it comes to chinuch, of educating our children, that as they get older, we start training them, teaching them how to do more and more mitzvot, getting them ready for their bar and bat mitzvah. And when it comes to fasting, we tend to be a little bit slower with these halachot, because for a growing child to fast, that's not the way it works. A kid has to eat. But as they get closer and closer to the bar and bat mitzvah, 2 years before, a year before, you start already training them in the fast days to fast the night, a little bit of the morning, fast until 12 o'clock. And then a year before, many have the custom to fast the full fast day. Here in Beit Shemesh, I have the custom of my kids' schools. They say 3 fast days before your bar and bar mitzvah. Try the whole fast to try to train yourself when your bar and bar mitzvah. But all that is true by all the other fast days, but not Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, the halacha is we don't mechanech our children to fast before their bar and bar mitzvah. Why? Because we have full emunah, the Mashiach's going to come this year. So how in the world can I educate my kid? Oh, fast this year, Tisha B'Av, because next year, after your bar mitzvah, you might have to fast. What are you talking about next year? Mashiach's going to come before there. That has to be our emunah. The Mashiach's going to come now. But sadly, it's Tisha B'Av. And now that it's Tisha B'Av and we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, we haven't rebuilt that Beit HaMikdash. Yes, it's true. Hopefully our Torah, our mitzvot, our tefillot, our tears, we're building bricks of that third Beit HaMikdash, the Bezrat Hashem will come down min hashamayim, but we're still not there. Motzei Shabbat, once Shabbat was over and Tisha B'Av started, so I got changed, got ready for shul and my weekday clothes. I turned on my phone and there was a video of one of the hostages. And on the one hand, Baruch Hashem, he's alive. And that's a little bit of hope. On the other hand, if you saw the way he looked in the video, the bones, the hunger, the torture. A couple of minutes later, I walked to the Beit Knesset and I started reading the Kinot. And the Kinot is detailing all these lamentations, what took place in Yerushalayim, the lack of food, the torture, the pain, the suffering. And I'm reading that, and now I had an image in my head of what's going on right now to one of our brothers and sisters. We have our brothers that are still hostages. We're dealing with this in such a terrible, terrible, real way. The suffering of Galut, even here in Eretz Yisrael, is so real. But B'ezrat Hashem, we got to pray. We got to pray. We got to cry. Chazal tell us that the gates of tears, the gates of Demaot, the Sha'arei Demaot, Apam Lo Nin'alu, they never get locked. If we really pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we turn to Hashem and we cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the Geulah, cry for the Mashiach, cry for the Galut to end, cry for the Beit HaMikdash, cry for Yerushalayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will answer. Those tears will begin to build those building blocks to the third Beit HaMikdash. Hazorim bedim'ah berina'ik tzoru. If we work hard, with tears, we dedicate ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Berina, ultimately, we're going to have Mashiach Tzidkenu. We're going to have the full Eretz Yisrael Shtama, Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. Everything's going to be rebuilt, the Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi. So I saw a powerful Dvar Torah from Rav Shmuel Zucker on Tisha B'Av this year, where he speaks about a Bechi, about Bechiyah. And he quotes a famous Chazal. Rashi brings it down that what took place in the very first Tisha B'Av, even before the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, before the second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, if we go all the way back to the times of the Jewish people in the desert, that first Tisha B'Av, the first real sin to take place was when the Meraglim, when the spies came back and they just seen Eretz Yisrael, the beautiful Eretz Yisrael, they saw the beautiful fruits, how great the land was, but then they said, why? We're not going to be able to do it. We're not going to be strong enough. They forgot, except for Yeshua and Caleb, who were able to say, no, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is behind us. Hashem will be with us. We're going to win. They looked and they said, we're not going to make it. It's the Goyim there. They're too strong. They're fortresses. We're not going to be able to make it in Eretz Yisrael. And everybody started to cry. Everybody's crying. And Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you're crying bechiyah shel chinam. You were crying tears for nothing. This crocodile tears. You were just crying for no reason. I was there behind you. I was there to protect you. And I'm with you. And you're crying for no reason. This is going to be a day where you're going to cry for a reason. And that ultimately is going to plant the seed, that sin for the first Beit HaMikdash, the second Beit HaMikdash, and all the other terrible tragedies that keep happening on Tisha B'Av. Says Rav Zucker, but there's a tikkun. There's a tikkun in those tears. Where do you find the tikkun? In different tears. If we can get ourselves bechiyah of tikvah, you can have tears of hope. tears of yearning, tears of passion, of emunah, of anticipating the Geula. Tzipiti liyeshua. There's another kind of tears that we can do, and these are the tears that we're supposed to be doing on Tisha B'Av. We're supposed to be crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, knowing that Hashem can answer and will answer our tefillot, and will have the ultimate Geula Shlema. Those are the kind of tears we have to have. It's tears for a purpose, tears for a yearning, for a desire, for hope to get somewhere much, much bigger. And he says we have ourselves the first crying that takes place in world history according to the Midrashim. Day number 2, HaKadosh Baruch Hu separated the upper waters from the lower waters, and the Mayim HaTachtonim, the lower waters, they cried to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They said, Hashem, we want to be close to you. We want to be back up there with the Mayim Elyonim. We want to go back. We want to reconnect to the upper waters. We don't want to be down below. And they didn't have despair. They didn't have yeush. They didn't have this. They didn't give up. They didn't have b'chiyah shel chinam. They were crying for a reason. They were crying with a yearning. They want to get. They want to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They want to come back up to the Shamayim. They want to reunite with those Mayim Elyonim. Says Rav Zucker, we have other times of the years where tears somewhat come up. Really twice a year. We have it really Tisha B'Av time, and we have it again on the Yemim Noraim, on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur. We're also there we talk about the Sha'arei D'ma'ot, the gates of tears being right next to the gates of Tefillah, the gates of Teshuvah. We cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Teshuvah because we want to be Lashuv, we want to come back up, we want to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we desire to reunite with Hashem. So just like the lower waters want to reconnect to the heavens, we want to reconnect to the heavens. And we have the Avodah Rosh Hashanah of the shofar. We blow the shofar between the two tekiyot. We have the shvarim, we have the teruah, the weeping, the wailing, different ways to cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we're crying to Hashem not from atzvut, it's not from depression, it's not from sadness, it's not from hopelessness. It's a bechiyah to return. It's a bechiyah of hope. It's a bechiyah of tikvah. It's a bechiyah that's ultimately going to lead to simcha, because we know, we have the deep emunah that we're going to get there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be with us. That's why after Rosh Hashanah, after Yom Kippur, after that big teruah gedolah, tekiyah gedolah at the end of Yom Kippur, so then comes the holiday of Sukkot. What's the holiday of Sukkot all about? Where we're going to take the Mayim Nesech, the Nisuch HaMayim. We're going to have the water libations. We're going to go Shafte Mayim Besason. We're going to draw out the water from the wells, the Mayim HaTachtonim, and then we're going to put it on the Mizbech so that it goes back up into the Shamayim. We're going to make the reconnection of that Mayim HaTachtonim to the Mayim Elyonim, and those are going to be the greatest Simchat Beit Shoeva, the greatest Simcha we're ever going to see in our lifetime. So the idea is, though, but it starts with those tears. It starts with those crying. And if we understand that the gates aren't closed and we're crying for a reason, that's going to be itself a sign for the Geulah. Says Rav Zucker, Bechiyah with the right kind of hope is a siman that the Geulah is going to happen. As we said, the pasuk, Azorim bedima berina yiktzoru, the tears themselves, but if they're real tears, real passionate tears of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of desire to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, those tears will bring us closer to the Geulah Shlema. Says Rav Zucker, if we go to Moshe Rabbeinu, look at Moshe Rabbeinu at the very beginning of his life, the first time we actually hear him speak. Now we just started Sefer Devarim, the real words of Moshe Rabbeinu. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't the Ish Devarim in the beginning, but you know what he was in the very beginning? He was a person who would cry. And when he was put into that teva, and that baby was in the teva, it says that Bitya, the Bat Paro, she heard a baby crying. V'hine ha'na'ar boche, and the na'ar was boche, and some of the Mefarshim learn about Hanar Boche. He wasn't a Nar, he was a baby, he was a Tinok, but he had the Kochot of a Nar, he had the understanding of a Nahar. The Nar is Boche, he was crying. He was crying for the Jewish people. He was crying, recognizing what's going to be in the future. They see the baby Moshe crying, and actually, according to some Mefarshim, it was Aharon is the Nar on the side watching, and Aharon is crying. These two brothers who love each other. But we have Moshe Rabbeinu crying. He's the symbolic Moshe, crying for the Jewish people, crying for the Geulah Shlema. He's recognizing that at that moment in the Galut Mitzrayim, things were very bad. But part of his tears over there, they say, wasn't tears for himself. It was tears for the whole Jewish people. And it says that when Batya heard him crying, she heard Behina Anar Boche, so she said, whoa, this one over here, Miyaldei Ha'avadim Zeh. These tears are special tears. She recognized this is tears. These are cries of redemption, cries of Geulah, cries for the sake of Am Yisrael. She goes, Mi'aldei ha'avadim hezeh. This is a kirabon of the slaves. This is Jewish tears. Says the Chida, unbelievable. Mi'aldei ha'avadim zeh, Rashi Tevot. The first letters, Mem He Zayin Gematria, Eliyahu Navi. In the tears of Moshe Rabbeinu, we have the symbol of Eliyahu Navi coming to Mevaser, the Geulah, the declaration that Mashiach Tzidkenu is here right now. That's happening in the tears of Moshe Rabbeinu. So too we find the power of tears when it comes to the grandmother of David HaMelech, of the Mashiach Tzidkenu, of Ruth HaMoaviyah. When Naomi tells her two daughter-in-laws, Ruth and Orpah, it's time for you to leave. My sons have died. I'm going back, a poor old woman, to Eretz Yisrael. And Ruth and Orpah, they see her and they both cry. But there's a difference between the tears of Orpah and the tears of Ruth. The tears of Orpah was crying bechiyah, of hopelessness, of yeush, of giving up, of confusion, of nothingness, and she turned around and left her mother-in-law. But Ruth, she was passionate to join Am Yisrael. She wanted to join. She's like those Mayim HaTachtonim that wants to unite with the Mayim Elyonim. She saw that I want to be with these Jewish people. So when she's crying and yearning, I'm not leaving you. I'm staying with you. And ultimately, she's going to be the mother of the great-great-great-grandmother of Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Davidic line is coming out of Ruth HaMoaviyah, because that's the real tears of Mashiach. And her tears are going to bring about that birth of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Now, on the other hand, the tears of Orpah. So the Gemara tells us that Orpah cried 4 tears. Sounds like it was 2 out of each eye. And those 4 tears are going to lead to her having 4 children that are going to be Giborim, and one of them being Goliath. Goliath is going to be one of them to fight against David. Ultimately, Baruch Hashem, they're going to fall to David HaMelech. But this concept of even her tears of hopelessness, the tears of hopelessness, these tears of Yeush, have a certain power of Tumat to them as well. We had mentioned once in the past that when Esav found out he lost the birthright, he cried also. So according to the Mekubalim, he cried 2, almost 3 tears, and the first 2 tears came out, and those first 2 tears destroyed the first and second Beit HaMikdash. The third tear was about to come out, and then Yaakov Avinu prayed, it stayed up there, which means the third tear didn't come out. The third Beit HaMikdash will not be destroyed. So I was wondering by Orpah, so it says she had 4 tears, but I saw the commentator say, yeah, but it was 2 out of each eye. I'm wondering if those 2 also have some kind of relation to the first and second Beit HaMikdash. But on the other hand, we find Ruth. Ruth is the one having the real tears, and the real tears to join, the real tears of hope, and that puts her close to Naomi. She's not going to leave, and that's ultimately going to bring her to Eretz Yisrael to ultimately create the Mashiach Tzidkenu. So too we find by Rachel Imenu. Rachel is mevaka al baneya. Rachel is the one that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're crying and crying. Those are real tears for the Jewish people. Those are real tears for the Geula, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to her, you know what? Stop crying. I heard your tears. Your tears were so powerful. You have a zechut. Mini kolech mi bechi be'enach midim. Stop the crying. I got it. Your tears worked. You broke through. V'shavu banim ligvulam. Your children are going to come home. They're going to come back to Eretz Yisrael. We start off in Echam. We speak about the Yerushalayim being totally destroyed, being left barren, like an almana, ka'almana. But the language over there is ka'almana, like a widow, but not an actual widow. It's more like a woman whose husband has gone away. In a certain sense, we're like the husband who has gone away. But it's not a full almanah, because the Jews, we always prayed to come home. And some of us are beginning to come home right now. And the idea is, we didn't leave you. We didn't leave you, almanah, and we were never going to leave you. And we're going to start to come home. But now let's take the metaphor in a different way. We have ourselves, Yerushalayim, the female, us, the male. But Klape HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when comparing to Kadosh Baruch Hu, we are like the female. We are like the almanah. And we're the ones crying out to Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's going to be our tears. Our tears. We're like an almanah, but we're not an almanah. We're not a widow, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we cry to you, we're those Mayim HaTachtonim. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We want Geula now. We want Mashiach now. We want the Beit HaMikdash now. If we do it right, the Demaot are these first steps towards the Geula Shlema. May we be Zocheh.